In the third book and in Season 5 of the series, Jon Snow was nominated as the 998th Lord Commander of the Night's Watch. So aside from Jeor Mormont and Jon, we've heard very little of these past commanders. Well, Ed is appointed instead of a group vote after Jon's death and resurrection in the show, but I have no idea whether or not the same thing will go down in the book, so I'd rather not talk about him.
Should we close the gate, Lord Commander?
I'm not the Lord Commander.
Jeor Mormont, nicknamed the Old Bear, didn't spend much time in the Night's Watch before becoming the Lord Commander. He left his comfortable position as Lord of Bear Island to guard the realm. Bear Island has always been under constant attack from wildling raids, which makes his move understandable. The Night's Watch has only been declining in manpower and the wildling raids were not slowing down. His leadership and strength, even though he wasn't the youngest recruit, would help drastically. His predecessor is only mentioned as Lord Commander Corgyle, and Corgyle is only his last name. House Corgyle are lords way out in Dorne, which just brings up a ton of questions. I guess he really got tired of the hot sun in his kingdom. It's not stated how he died, but his death and Jeor's promotion took place in 288 AC, so 10 years before the current story begins. 55 years before this point was a really interesting time at the Wall. Bernard Rivers, better known as Bloodraven, was sentenced to death for how he handled a rebel. He told Aenys Blackfire, a relative of his, that he would allow him safe passage to King's Landing, only to have him murdered the moment he showed up for trying to take the Iron Throne. This was during a time where the line of succession was extremely messy. But eventually, Aegon V, better known as Egg from the Dunk and Egg short stories, would be chosen as the king. Bloodraven was the previous king's hand and also the bastard son of a Targaryen king. Egg's first decision as king was to have his great-uncle Bloodraven executed with the option of joining the Night's Watch instead. He made the smart choice and made his way to the Wall, but not alone. His loyal followers and guards, the Raven's Teeth, joined him along with Egg's older brother, Maester Aemon Targaryen. After 6 years in the Night's Watch, he was elected to Lord Commander. After 13 years of being the man in charge, he would disappear during a ranging beyond the Wall. He was presumed dead, but we all know what he's been up to during this whole time. He was always rumored to use magic and feared for his unnatural skills as a spy master. It turns out he was a greenseer this whole time. With the children in the forest and weirwood trees sustaining his life, he became the Three-Eyed Raven. The only other Lord Commander with some in-depth history is the Night's King, a character completely different from what the show was calling the Night King, who rules over the White Walkers and Whites. In between the Night's King, who lived thousands of years ago, and Bloodraven, there have been some names come up, but nothing too interesting. Lord Commander Jack Musgood let the king beyond the Wall, Raymond Redbeard, get over the Wall with his army during his watch in 226 AC. By the time he caught up to the wildling army, House Stark and House Umber already dealt with the threat. This earned him the name Sleepy Jack. During Aegon's conquest, it was Lord Commander Hoare in this position. Again, we don't know his first name, but his powerful family at the time went extinct when Aegon's dragon burned their castle Harrenhal. While his family was getting exterminated, Lord Commander Hoare stayed true to his vows and did not get involved. Benjen Stark mentions a few Lord Commanders who chose not to follow their vows to Jon while at the Wall. He says, "The Night's Watch is pledged to take no part in the quarrels of the realm, yet over the centuries, certain Lord Commanders, more proud than wise, forgot their vows and near destroyed us all with their ambitions." Lord Commander Runsel Hightower tried to bequeath the watch to his bastard son. Lord Commander Roderick Flint thought to make himself king beyond the Wall. Tristan Mudd, Mad Mark Rankenfell, Robin Hill. Whatever Tristan Mudd, Mad Mark Rankenfell, and Robin Hill did is never mentioned. I think a lot of these 998 Lord Commanders have remained unnamed because there isn't much they could possibly accomplish where they are. The Night's Watch was founded to guard against the Others or White Walkers, but since the first attack 8,000 years ago, they have only resurfaced now. This means the Night's Watch has only been fighting off wildling invasions, which would be repetitive to bring up over and over. House Stark is known to have members join the Night's Watch, but aside from Benjen, the only other named character is Osric Stark. He somehow was elected to be Lord Commander at age 10 and served for 60 years. This made him the youngest to ever do so. And this finally brings us back to the Night's King. Who he was is lost in history, but he was the 13th Lord Commander and generally believed to be from a northern house, with old Nan saying he was a Stark. During his time in power, he fell in love with this mysterious woman who had cold white skin and blue eyes. Together they ruled as king and queen over the Night's Watch. He would make sacrifices to White Walkers during his 13 years as king. The Starks joined together with the king beyond the Wall at the time to defeat the Night's King and restore order to the Night's Watch. They decided to erase his name from history afterwards. Whether or not his queen, also called the Corpse Queen, was a White Walker or not is also a mystery. He is the earliest Lord Commander detailed in the story, but it would be surprising if we don't get any information on who was made the first Lord Commander after Bran the Builder had the wall built. Bran has only begun his training with the Three-Eyed Raven in the last book, so we'll definitely be reading past events never written about before. The only other Lord Commander mentioned by name is Orbert Caswell, who had the nickname the Black Centaur. All we know is he was accomplished enough to have a Septon write a book about him in this world. We may not know about all the 998 commanders, but the few we do have fleshed out are great additions to the story. Thanks for watching.